Gamers, Jason here. I'm a community manager here at Coffee Stain. You might recognize me as the star of How to Play Satisfactory in VR, or that guy who makes Mikael look stupid in YouTube videos. Regardless of how you know me, with Mikael going off to Japan, I thought now would be a great time for me to finally take over the channel. Just kidding. But rather than just post like I would naturally, I figured today we could take a look at one of the features of Satisfactory that we don't talk about enough, and frankly, I don't know about enough. And what feature is that? Sound. How important is it really?
On the screen now is one of my silica lines in the red bamboo fields. What can we take away from this? Well, the trees are a vibrant pink. The water looks calm. It looks cold. Maybe it's early in the morning. These are observations that we can make about this moment captured in time, purely based on our ability to see. Now, let's remove our sense of sight and introduce our sense of hearing. Take a deep breath, go ahead, and close your eyes. You too, Doug. The hum of insects fills the air. To your right, that refinery originally out of frame is actually hard at work. The beetle in this babbling brook is babbling themselves. Opening your eyes, it's still the same image you originally observed, yet now you have a more complete experience of the world inside. It almost feels like we're there.
Now, we all know the 5 most commonly recognized senses: sight, hearing, touch, smell, and taste. And I don't know about you, but I've only tasted a video game once, and that was when Breath of the Wild came out. I didn't like it. Hearing, however, we can utilize to truly immerse ourselves in the games we play. Satisfactory is no exception. Maybe in the past you've muted the game, thrown on your favorite music or a podcast you like to listen to, and just toiled away at the worst aluminum production line you could muster up. I know I'm guilty of it, but when we do this, we're robbing ourselves of a more immersive factory experience that our great-great-grandparents could only dream of. This sonic experience doesn't just exist like in the real world either. They're only made possible by some really interesting audio systems that my colleagues here at Coffee Stain have implemented into the game. Some of these as recent as 1.1. So I wanted to make a video highlighting all the cool audio things that are going on in Satisfactory. We've got dynamic reverb, we've got an occlusion system, we've got Wwise, but like, how does this even work? What the hell is Wise? Wwise, what? I don't know. Anyway, today we're gonna find out. To properly begin the conversation about these sound systems in Satisfactory, we first have to understand not how the Alpha Hog sausage is made, but where the Alpha Hog sausage is made. And that place is the Waveworks Interactive Sound Engine, or WISE for short. Yes, I did finally learn the right way to say it after some extensive research that included watching a 15-year-old YouTube video, as well as deferring to the game dev masses on Twitter. I suppose it does roll off the tongue better than WWISE. Developed by French-Canadian audio powerhouse Audiokinetic, Wwise is a piece of audio software commonly used in video game and vehicle development. Okay. In the game industry, it serves as middleware, a bridge between a sound designer's favorite DAW and the game engine that keeps them up at night.
Side note, there are other programs that serve a similar purpose, like Fmod or Unreal Audio. Wwise is just what we use here at Coffee Stain.
If you're familiar at all with DAWs, you know how powerful they can be in bringing basic sounds to life in music and media. So why do we need Wwise to mediate this relationship with our game engine? Is it that bad? I asked Coffee Stain's sound designer Sasha that very question at our communal desk.
No, Wwise does actually a lot. Like, Wwise has a set of, you can put on, like, for example, here, I can have some effects. So there's all sorts of effects you can put into Wwise. Things never sound the way you think they sound until you hear them in action, like in the game. So like, it might sound good in the DAW, it might sound good even if I play it back from Wwise, but when I play inside the game, then it might sound a bit off. You can just connect Wwise and just on the fly, just tweak things. So you can filter it, like you can muffle some sounds, lower the volume, add some reverb, whatever it may be, whatever you want to do. And also you can make all of these effects dynamic with the game. So for example, you want muffling effect, like a filter, like there's this. That's tied to the player's health, for example. Yeah. We can have a parameter that says like, oh, whenever your health is low, then you will have all the sound of the game go like this and be muffled and stuff. So it's not only effects that are just applied right now, they're also dynamically changing with the game if you want them to be. The sound will change depending on how you play. not depending on how good we wanted it to sound or something. The same set of sounds can be implemented in the way that they sound completely different if you implement them in a different way. It changes the whole soundscape and the whole sounds themselves.
So Wwise isn't just a bridge between a DAW and Unreal Engine. Wwise gives designers a lot of freedom to dynamically change sounds with different contexts in the game you're developing. There's other perks as well. This practice can contribute to keeping your projects lightweight. Rather than have 5 different versions of the same sound clogging up your content folder, you can utilize that hard drive space for more important things, like emotes and dances. And please add more dances, I want to do the hokey pokey. Now that we've familiarized ourselves with Wwise and its ability to change sounds on the fly, it leads us smoothly into the first system we'll talk about today, the dynamic reverb system. Reverb, or reverberation, is the repeating echo of a sound after it's been produced. For the sake of science, let's lock Mikael in the basement. When he cries for help, sound waves shoot out from his mouth hole and bounce off the surfaces around him, building up and eventually decaying as the sound is absorbed by these surfaces. This effect changes as the environment surrounding the sound does, both in size and material. The basement is essentially a small concrete cube. Concrete is a pretty hard material, so for sound waves, this is a better bounce house than the one your neighbor Steve had for his 8th birthday. Not that you would know, because you weren't invited. It's also small, allowing for more reflections in a short period of time. This creates a tinny, less pleasing reverb than one you would find in a song, for example. For science again, let's comp a trip to Italy for, I don't know, me, to see St. Mark's Basilica. Standing inside, when I cry for help because I've dropped my spaghetti,
Oh, my spaghetti!
the sound waves have to travel much further to hit and reflect off of surfaces, creating a longer reverb that can feel more epic and grand.
My spaghetti!
Thankfully, much smarter people centuries ago figured out how all of this works in the real world, but how can we recreate this in a game like Satisfactory, where players are constantly building and changing their environment? Let's head back to the communal desk with Sasha and Mikael to find out.
So obviously Satisfactory is kind of a special game because it's a game where everything is user generated. Like you can build your own factories, you can put yourself in a box if you want to. It's not like where in other games, for example, you would have like set levels where there's like, oh, there's these sets of rooms and these rooms have like windows and doors and stuff, and you put them in and then you put reverb on them, so it's like it's a small room, big room, and
Sure.
it's defined by, it's like in the level itself.
It's baked in.
Yeah, exactly. It's baked in. Like you can tweak it however you want and stuff. But in Satisfactory, players can build however they want. And so we looked into this solution, which is it's a collage of different things that we've seen other studios do, and also new things that we're doing on top. Can I credit people?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Literally
So
just riff.
there was like a GDC talk from Massive Entertainment where they have what they call a bubble system, which is they basically scan around the player like a width and a height to see like, yeah, how wide their surroundings are and how high the ceiling is. For Satisfactory, we use it to drive whether you're inside or not and apply some reverb. On top of that, we have some material detection that comes into play because in Satisfactory you have metal, concrete, glass, foundations and walls you can place. So we also detect what kind of material is the most around you, and then the reverb changes based on that. Because we ended up seeing that if you're like in a concrete tank and it sounds like a glassy reverb, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
So yeah, it's kind of off. So we just added that extra bit, changing it up depending on material, just made it more believable. But it's a sort of subtle effect that's just there to like immerse you and kind of make you feel like, oh yeah, you're actually changing your surroundings. You're changing the world. You're making a big room right there. And we're giving you audio feedback based on that. Like, oh, you've been a big room. Here's a big reverb.
So basically, here you are, the Pioneer. About 3 times a second, this invisible line called a raycast shoots out around the player about 50 meters out. This is creating that bubble that Sasha mentioned. For funsies, here's what a debug version of that looks like in Engine.
This is a scanning functionality for detecting how inside or outside you are and what is most used material around you, like is a metal or concrete or glass.
All this raycast is doing is gathering information to use for the reverb system. If the line hits a surface, it notes its distance to the player. If it's between 0 and 10 meters, the small reverb parameters are applied to the reverb's height. If it's between 10 and 30 meters, the medium parameters are applied. If it's between 30 and 50, the large reverb is applied. In addition to just detecting the surfaces, it also determines what material type the surface is using, like metal, concrete, or glass. This also changes the parameters of the reverb, similar to how we discussed before. Something else these raycasts do is determine how inside your character is.
3 lines shoot out at an angle above your character. If all 3 hit a surface, you're in a room. If all 3 do not, congrats, you've touched grass.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
So we have these lines that are consistently just pointing up from the character.
They're not just up, it's like some little angle, like 15 degrees or 10 degrees, something like that, because it works better. And we're also trying to consider like how these lines agree with each other. For example, here we have only 2 lines and one is still outside. So we're still kind of not sure what is happening above you, because scenery is constantly changing. But if you will go inside, they will all agree with each other that you are, and then we could definitely send this information to us.
This leads nicely to our next function of the reverb system. When the player is fully outside, height is no longer considered. This is where width comes into play. If no height is detected, the outside reverb is applied. And just like height, width calculates the distance between surfaces and the player, where a small, medium, or large outdoor preset is applied. Something else is triggered, however, and that is an effect called slapback.
A slapback is like one echo,
Yeah.
one echo unit maybe. And then the reverb is like when you have so many of those echoes that it becomes this like room sound. That's reverb. Reverb is just many slapback little delays slapped together at the same time, and so you hear it as a cohesive room. But usually when you're outside and there's like a wall, a distinct wall, and you have like a sharp sound, you will hear it bounce back off the wall, right? But basically we made a delay plugin that's only left and right, and the delay time changes depending on how far the hit is. So let's say, for example, you're standing like in a field and you have like a rock very close on your left and like a cliff very far on your right, then you will get like a short slapback effect on your left from that rock, and then a long like slapback that comes like maybe half a second later from that cliff. But because Wwise doesn't allow you to change that delay time dynamically with the game for some reasons, we made some programming magic to make it so that it does allow us to do it.
Tying all of these pieces together, we have a functioning dynamic reverb system. Ever since the system came into the game with 1.1, making a giant factory feels even more monumental. Stepping out of that factory, however, tells a different story. The machinery inside is muffled now. It genuinely sounds like there's walls blocking the sound. This is where the occlusion system enters the conversation.
What's occlusion? What does that mean?
I have a good analogy. Imagine that you are standing in an open field and there is nothing around you, and every sound is just coming out of thin air. There is no walls, there is no trees, there is nothing that is blocking the sound. So that is a world without occlusion. When you have occlusion, then there are different obstacles that could intercept sound. The sound wave could go like around it, or the sound could just become muffled. Basically, that's the occlusion.
Okay, so just like objects that are blocking the sound from reaching a different area.
Yeah, or changing the sound direction. There is full blocking, which is considered like occlusion. There is partial blocking, which is considered like obstruction. And there are kind of stuff like refraction, where sound could get into some spots and refract from specific angle multiple times, and then it will come from different direction. Sometimes you could hear it in real life when you open window or something like that.
So now we know what occlusion is. But how does the occlusion system know when to block sound? You might think it's similar to those raycasts the reverb system uses, but the actual method might surprise you.
Basically, it's really difficult to implement the occlusion system for everything: trees, landscape, factories. And we are not trying to simulate the whole world. In terms of our game, we decided that the most important part is like the factories around you. The actual factories that you are building, placing walls and foundation, that's the most important part. We took this geometry, like the walls that you are building, and we streamed all this into Wwise. So basically in Wwise we are representing some kind of audio world, like a copy of game engine physics, but not everything, but only the important stuff. And whenever you are building something or dismantling, then this object is streamed, and you have this nice effect that the world, the audio world, is reacting to your actions. So here we have some walls and foundations. We have some kind of approximation in Wwise between the stuff that you build. Different colors means different materials, and also we can't afford to have the whole, open world streamed in terms of memory and performance. So we are just having some sphere around you and stream only the important stuff. So when player is moving, the actual sphere is moving.
Right,
you are
yeah,
deleting
yeah.
stuff, it actually also like disappears over there.
And it's updating in real time.
Yes.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, and for example, if you build something, like this, that you could see
Oh,
that
yeah, there it is.
it changes there. Yeah, so basically that like this. If you're building some factory and you have some constructor here, then the sound from this emitter could go through the system, and then it could be muffled if it's like enclosed in different room or whatever, or if it's like an open field, it will be like before.
Mikael explained that very casually, but this is genuinely fascinating. A whole new instance of your game is being built in Wwise and updated in real time as you make changes to your factories. I just think this tech is so cool, so I'm gonna let these visuals speak for themselves. These two sound systems operate independently, both using Wwise in their own unique way. Sure, it's not the flashiest, but I think these systems really add a lot to your playthrough. Like good VFX, if you didn't think twice about the sound of your factory, that means Sasha and Mikael did a pretty good job. But after watching this, I hope you can appreciate it a little more.
Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. Oh, this? I'm just holding it. I can't read. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's not quite an update video, because these things have been in the game since 1.1, but we also didn't really talk about them. I really enjoyed learning more about my colleagues' work, and if you enjoyed it too, go ahead and leave a comment down below on what you'd like us to break down next, because I would love to keep harassing my coworkers. I didn't know how any of the audio systems in our game worked up until I started researching for this video. So any suggestions are welcome, because that just lets me learn more about our game. Over the years, I've had a love-hate relationship with audio. I've failed to learn every instrument I've ever tried. Sound design is one of my worst video production skills. Please don't roast the sound in this video. I love music, but I hate ASMR. Despite my seemingly toxic relationship with sound, we really can't underestimate its importance in games and the media that we consume. Bad audio can ruin the experience of any media, and we only notice it's bad when it's, well, bad. So, thank the sound designer in your life. Whisper your gratitudes into their ear. Not too loud though. Those are their moneymakers. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time. Oh, Garfield. You silly cat. I don't know Swedish.
Hjälp!